I filmed this video once and it sounded like this in my phone, so I have them in my phone today, which is quite on theme with what this video is supposed to be about, and that is that being a human is exhausting, and if it's not one thing, it's something else. I'm proud of myself for not giving up and not getting too frustrated, although it is a little bit frustrating. The depression has definitely been in high gear. I have an appointment tomorrow with my provider to talk about getting on some new medication. It's overall just been like a really stressful time. So it started a couple weeks ago when I decided that I was going to move into a new apartment this summer. So I started looking, I toured about 8 units, and I would say it was like good stress. Like I was excited, I was ready to put in my applications. I was just trying to narrow down what apartment I wanted. The other day I was looking at one of the apartments that I had toured, and I found a unit that was 2-bedroom. It had like hardwood throughout, it had an outdoor space, it was like facing the tree line, so it was really quiet. I thought I was gonna be a shoo-in for this apartment because I have the income, I have the rental history, I've never paid rent late, I had all my documents in order, and I got rejected. And a lot of it had to do with the credit card debt, which that credit card debt goes back to 2021 when my Ehlers-Danlos and POTS started to get really bad, but I didn't know that that's what it was at the time. So I had to quit my job and take out credit cards to live because my unemployment wasn't getting released. And disability, if you know how that works, it's a whole journey. It's not something that you can just like apply for and then immediately get. It can take a long time. Because of that, I ended up getting rejected from this apartment that I really wanted and I was really excited for, and I immediately felt this like looming disappointment in myself, disappointment in the circumstances, and I immediately started my like shame spiral where I was like, well, if you didn't get sick, then you wouldn't have had to take out the credit cards, and if you didn't have the credit cards, then you wouldn't have had the credit card debt, and if you didn't have the credit card debt, then you would have gotten approved for the apartment, and if you had gotten approved for the apartment, then you would be happy because apparently having the perfect apartment makes you happy, which is not true. It's not true at all. And it's like rationally I know that, but I just really want to be in a new space that is more tailored to what I need. And so I was feeling like really disappointed in myself, and then I remembered that a lot of people feel this way and that things are not good overall. The economy is not great, the job market's not great. I have a friend right now who's trying to find a new job because she lost her job, and she's just like, this is impossible. Like she's like, I'm just struggling to even get in interviews with some of these places. I just started then like spiraling about everything and spiraling about like my current situation. Then I was like, am I always gonna be broke? Like, is this always gonna be a stress for me? Am I always gonna have to worry about money? Like, is the economy always gonna be this way? And just feeling very existential about everything because the fact that I went on that huge shame spiral for like 2 days straight. When I got back from work today, which I'm not in my house, I'm house sitting. So when I got back to the house that I'm house sitting, I immediately went back to bed. I was like, I'm too exhausted for this. I can't do this right now. I think I've known for a long time that being a human is very exhausting. But today just like reaffirmed that over and over and over, because it wasn't even the drama with the apartment, it was like other things as well. I just feel like life is constantly weighing down on me, and it's hard to do the things that I want to do because of all the things that I need to do. It made me realize like how much energy I put toward just my basic needs, like how much energy I put toward being able to pay rent and being able to have food and being able to have healthcare. And when I'm done putting all of that energy toward those things, I don't really have energy for like a social life, or I don't really have a lot of energy for hobbies. A lot of that probably is due to the fact that I do have a chronic illness that it comes with a lot of fatigue as well. So it's like my energy is already pretty low, and then all of my energy goes toward just like making sure I have a place to live every month. So naturally I then don't have energy to like go out with my friends and like have fun. And I think that that's something that a lot of people can relate to. I'm not really on social media that much, but I do have YouTube, and just based on some of the videos that I've seen, it does seem like a lot of people are kind of feeling this like existential dread and exhaustion around merely existing. As I was laying in bed after my nap, and I did not want to get up, couldn't bring myself to get up because I was so tired, and I was kind of being a little bit hard on myself. Like I was like, okay, you need to get up, like you have things to do. And then I was like, what do I have to do? Like really though, like what did I have to do? At that point in the day, I actually really didn't have anything to do. You're exhausted, and it's okay that you're exhausted. You don't have to get up and go do something about that exhaustion. And in fact, getting up and like doing something might make you more exhausted. So I decided to keep laying in bed and just kind of like hung out with the dog that I'm dog sitting. And it overall was probably the more positive choice for myself. I gave myself like an extra hour to just kind of like loaf. And I was just kind of thinking about existential dread, but also existential exhaustion. I think a lot of it comes from just living in a society that places so much emphasis on doing and on like constantly being in a state of production. And I do think we're seeing more people talk about the lasting effects of hustle culture and how like this constant state of doing is not sustainable for anyone. But even though we're hearing a lot of people talk about it, I do still think this society hasn't really changed that much in terms of who gets rewarded for what. And it's a lot more complex than that. Like I don't think it's as simple as like people who do more get rewarded more, because identity comes into play, right? But I think if we are very honest with ourselves, it's very hard to survive in a space where everyone else is seemingly overproducing and overworking when you are not somebody who overproduces or overworks, either because you can't, because you're chronically ill or you're fatigued, or you just simply don't want to, which I think is also valid. So knowing all of that, it's almost like trying to make yourself fit in somewhere that like you just can't fit into. Like it's physically impossible. What is the saying? Like trying to make like a square peg fit into a round hole. Like it's just not going to work. And you're just going to keep trying and trying and trying, but you'll never fully feel like you fit within that space. And I think that's why I've struggled with corporate workplaces a lot, is aside from being sick, I also am just not somebody who's like gonna stay after hours. I'm not somebody who's going to like go above and beyond when I don't need to. If it's something I'm passionate about, maybe, but like if it's something I'm not passionate about, like you're getting the bare minimum. And that is hard to be in a lot of spaces like that, especially if that particular space is focused on going above and beyond. So knowing all of this, it actually is very reasonable and normal and justified to be exhausted. Now, just because it's reasonable and justified, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's good long term. We know the effects physiologically that exhaustion has on us long term. In the right here and right now, being exhausted or feeling defeated by the economy, by capitalism, by the society, I think is a very reasonable response. And one of the things that I've been trying to implement within myself is just constantly validating my exhaustion. And there are things that I'm doing to address that, but the main thing that I've been doing is just validating how I feel and validating like it is perfectly okay for you to feel defeated by life right now. It's reasonable. You're out here working your ass off to just pay rent, to pay this stupid high rent. Because a one bedroom starts at like $1,600. I'm also trying to step away from the idea that I need to be doing something about my negative emotions. I think along with feeling like we have to be hyper productive and we have to be constantly working, or we're also seeing more of wellness spaces that talk about like, if you're experiencing a negative emotion, this is what you need to do about it. This is what you must do about it. And you know, getting support for your mental health is obviously very important. I'm an avid therapy goer. And like one of the things that I've been working on in therapy the most is just allowing myself to experience my emotions. And it's really interesting because there's not anything that I actually do besides just validating how I feel. There's not these like practices that I engage in or like meditations that I do. Not that those are bad, but like the process of me experiencing my emotions is quite literally just like, I am angry, I am sad, I am depressed, I am exhausted. And there's something I think really healing about just recognizing that that is reality for me, but not necessarily feeling like I have to do something about it in the moment. Because I think when we're experiencing heightened emotions, our judgment can get clouded and we can kind of make impulsive or misguided decisions about how we want to address those emotions. So like if you're anxious, for example, and if you have anxiety, you probably know this, and you kind of just do what you think in the moment is going to fix whatever situation is making you anxious. But when you're anxious, our decision-making skills aren't great. And if you're not experiencing, or if you're not allowing yourself to experience that anxiety, it's probably going to make you more anxious, which is then going to affect your decision-making skills even more. One of the like kind of rules or expectations that I have for myself is to not make any big decisions while I'm anxious, and to just let myself experience my anxiety, and then when my anxiety goes down, then I can make decisions. So like when I got denied from this apartment, I actually made a plan for myself for the day because I knew I was going to be really anxious about it. And part of my plan was to have like healthy distractions. Actually, I'll just read you my plan. So the first thing that I told myself I was going to do was use healthy distractions, and then I was going to go do the things that I needed to do, such as work, and then I was going to shower and wash my hair because I knew that taking a shower would help me feel a lot better, and then I was going to do this video, and then after this video, later tonight, maybe even tomorrow, I was going to make a plan for finding an apartment. But if I had like stayed in that state of anxiety, I probably would have just started like stress contacting a bunch of apartments, and like that probably wouldn't have helped. So when you're stressed, when you're anxious, when you're depressed, there's obviously value in addressing that. Going to therapy if you can, getting on medication if that's the right option for you, using coping strategies, you know, whatever works best for you. But I think there's a difference between accepting what you're experiencing and trying to like make it go away because that's what you think you're supposed to do. Oh, we have a dog. He does wear a diaper full time. There's a difference between I'm depressed and it's okay that I'm depressed, and then allowing yourself to experience that, and then once you've experienced that, using your coping skills to manage your depression. There's a difference between that and I'm depressed, and so I must do things to make myself happy. Do the socially acceptable things to get rid of this depression. I tend to think about my emotions as someone I love. So like whatever emotion I'm experiencing, I kind of apply the same energy that I would to somebody I love dearly. And if I was in conflict with that person, I wouldn't just want to get rid of them. I would want to make it work. I would want to acknowledge the conflict, and then I would want to take steps to managing that conflict. But if I'm in conflict with somebody and I just am like, no, you just go away. Like I'm not happy with you right now, you go away. Things are probably not going to get better in the way that you want them to, versus like, okay, person I love, there's this conflict. I want to address it with you because I care about you. So let's do that. I think I decided that I want this YouTube channel to just kind of be like a personal diary for the things that I'm experiencing every day. I will work on not looking up at the viewfinder, but I have to keep the viewfinder up because the camera likes to randomly stop recording. So I appreciate your patience with me as I figure that out. It's really awkward to like look at the camera when I can see myself up here. And I hope that if you take anything from this video is that you're not wrong for responding to your environment in the way that you do, and delaying acknowledging your feelings might just make it worse. But to continue to be gentle on yourself. If you've been delaying acknowledging your feelings, you're still not a bad person. We all do it. I did it for the first like 26 years of life, and I'm still building that muscle of validating my emotions. So none of us are perfect, but we all deserve to have a sense of respite in our lives and to have a sense of safety and security. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I will see you in my next video.